What's good, fam? Look, if you at a point in your life where you are struggling with money and relationships and you are triggered as fuck with whatever it is you got going on in your life, I need you to understand that you may be afraid, you may be tired, frustrated, angry, sad, feeling miserable, unworthy, or whatever feelings that you're feeling based off of what you're dealing with around your money, love, and relationships. But please understand, your triggers, they are not your enemies. All that shit is a flashlight. They're trying a signal. They're trying to let you know and shed light on a wound that you have, most likely from some traumatic experience or something that you've dealt with emotionally that you haven't healed. And that's all that shit is doing, is just pressing a wound. So I need you to understand your triggers. And it's Therapy Thursday. We're going to talk about triggers because I promise you, you have got to understand it, because your triggers are going to show up in every area of your life. That's relationships, that's in dating, that's with your money, your finances, your confidence, consistency, your fitness, everything. It literally bleeds into all areas of life. You're going to see it. If you got a wound or something going on, that's going to show in one of these areas. So I need you all to understand that. And I wrote notes because I'm really going to break this down. So if you see me referring to my notes, just disregard. I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So I need y'all to understand, in a nutshell, before I even break down the main triggers, what's going on, how to deal with them, please understand any trigger that you have stems around one of two things: either you having enough or being enough. Because at the end of the day, you just want to feel safe. So all of your triggers stem around emotional, physical, security, and safety. At the end of the day, you just want to feel emotionally, physically, psychologically safe. So anything that you've dealt with in the past, anything that you're dealing with currently that's triggering, something that you experience or experiences now is making you feel unsafe emotionally, physically, mentally, psychologically, or a combination of all. So understand, when that happens, this is what it is. So with that being said, I want you all to understand the four main triggers that most people deal with, whether it's one of them or a combination of the four, is financial security, abandonment, rejection, and validation and approval. Most people are dealing with one of these four things or all of them. I can tell y'all from personal experience, I've dealt with every last one of them. I'm still dealing with them to this day. I'm not talking to y'all about anything that I haven't experienced in the past or don't currently deal with. So I need you to understand, those are the four main triggers. So if you dealing with money or you dealing with relationship problems, it comes from one of these four triggers is what's triggering these problems in your life. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to break down the four triggers real quick and define what it is and give you something that's going to help you start dealing with the wound. Okay? So with that being said, understand finance and security. Again, most people that struggle with money and finances, that's just a fear of you having enough. You've gotten to a point, whether it's from your parents, whether it's from society or things, where you created a belief system that your safety depends on if you have enough. And there was a point in time where you didn't know what money was, and you didn't worry about having enough. And we weren't ever supposed to worry about having enough. That's why it doesn't feel good if you find yourself in situations where, for example, you have unexpected expenses that come up and you looking at your bills or your expenses and whatever it is, and you looking at what you have in the bank account and you like, what the fuck? I do not have this shit. How the fuck am I gonna make this happen or get through this or get out of this? It doesn't feel good. You start worrying. You start doubting if you're gonna be okay. You start panicking. Some people, you get stressed out, and none of these emotions feel good. And it's not supposed to. Like, it's not a natural state, because we were never supposed to worry about these things. That's exactly why it doesn't feel good. And at the end of the day, like I said, it's just a survival thing. You just afraid of not having enough. So the first thing you need to do is understand that's what the trigger is. You ain't worried about the money. You worrying about if you're going to be able to survive. And you got to look at the story that you're telling yourself. Because a lot of times, a lot of us have a story in our mind that, you know what? My survival depends on my job, my career, if I have enough, if I can pay my bills, this and that. And at the end of the day, you got to take that story and change that story if you want your life to change. Instead of saying, you know what, I don't have enough, or nobody's ever had that kind of money, or it's not going to work out. The same way how you can say that or think those thoughts, you can think the opposite. It's two sides to everything. You can think, you know what, this can be done. You know what I'm saying? Or you can look at it like, you know what, just because I don't have the answers or I don't have this right now doesn't mean that at the time where I need it, I'll have it. You know what I'm saying? You got to reframe it. And the hardest part is learning how to have trust. And the knowing that, you know what, come hell or high water, I'm going to make it. I'm going to have enough. I will always have what I need. Because I guarantee you, everybody that's watching this, if you've had a scenario and you can relate to having money problems and being afraid if you're going to have enough or to survive, this ain't the first time you've dealt with that. You had this scenario before. That's what the wound is. You worrying about a past situation happening again. So what you have to do is you have to use those and not use those as fair, but actually use those to give you courage and simply say, tell a different story. Instead of saying all of the things you saying now out of fear and worry, say, you know what? I done been here before. I've dealt with fucked up situations before. I've been in a financial crunch. I've had points where I didn't have the money that I necessarily needed. And if you sitting here today watching this video, chances are that you got through whatever it is that you dealt with. And even though this scenario may not be the same as that, the end result is no different. You will always be okay. So that's the story that you have to start telling yourself in order to start dealing with the wounds that, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm gonna be okay no matter what's going on financially. I will have what it is I need. And have the trust. Do your part with whatever it is. Just do your part and simply have the trust and the courage to know that you're enough and you will be. That's how you deal with money and money and survival struggles, because that's really what it is. So that's all. And as far as abandonment, the next thing which a lot of people deal with, that simply comes from you not feeling like you're enough at the end of the day. Abandonment means you worrying about somebody leaving you or you being alone, whether that's your parents, your loved ones, your romantic partner, and things like that. And what happens is that bleeds into your family relationships, your romantic relationships, and everything else. And it shows up a lot of times with you being anxious, you overdoing things, you people pleasing, you trying to perform instead of just be authentically being yourself, worrying, you being clingy, all of these different things because you're afraid of somebody leaving you. And that wound just comes from you not having enough, or you feeling like, you know what, if my parents aren't here, if my parents don't see me, or my partner doesn't see me, or isn't there, if they leave me, I'm gonna be all by myself. That's emotional security. That's an emotional wound. You, like I told y'all early in the beginning of the video, you feeling like you're not emotionally safe. And at the end of the day, I need y'all to understand You got to reframe that too. And instead of being worried and afraid and sad, if people leave you, or if they're not consistent, or if they walk away or they become distant, you got to reframe that and be like, you know what? My emotional security and safety isn't defined or dependent on my parents or my partner or whoever, my friends, whoever else. There was a point in time you didn't know who any of them were. You were just a being, like, especially in your early years before you had consciousness. And understand, your parents may have brought you into this world. They may have been your caregivers, but unless something happens to you, more times than not, your parents aren't going to be with you every day of your life. So your emotional security isn't based in if they're with you. So there's a lot of people that have trauma from an estranged relationship with your parents coming up. That's in a wound of you not being abandoned. And how you deal with that, you have to start giving yourself all of the things that you needed from your parents. Same thing with the romantic relationship. A lot of you panic and you get worried, you get clingy, you get anxious because your partner isn't doing certain things or giving you certain things. I promise you, that wasn't their job or their place to give you all of the things that you need emotionally. And if you're relying on them, they're a placeholder. So when they walk away, now you have an empty space because you were supposed to be giving yourself all of those things. That way, you know what? You get to a point where you can have peace because you know what, man? Fuck it. Whether my parents or my friends or my romantic partner, whether they're here or not, I'm good with or without them. And that's not negative. That's just saying, like, you know what? I'm not dependent on you to eat in regards to my emotional security. Think about it like food. You're not dependent on somebody else to cook for you. If they cook for you, you really appreciate it. That's great. But you don't need it. You can perfectly feed yourself. And if they come along and maybe put extra on your plate or come and be like, you know what? I know you're good. I got you. Let me treat you. It's a big difference. And now you can have a level of security, emotional security and peace. So you got to deal with that wound. And anytime you have things that happen with your family members, your friends, your romantic partner, and that triggers a wound, understand all that is a feeling of feeling unsafe, feeling rejected, like you don't have emotional security. So that's that, dealing with the abandonment wound and triggers. And the next thing I want to talk about is rejection, because it kind of runs hand in hand in a way. And when it comes down to rejection, all that means is a lot of times we feel rejection, especially when it comes down to dating. We start feeling like we're not enough for our partner or for our peers or whoever else. That's really what it boils down to. If somebody doesn't see you, if they don't accept you or whatever the case is, you internalize that and you look at it like, you know what, you're not enough. And the stories that start playing a lot of times, if I did so-and-so, or if I hadn't done so-and-so, maybe they'd love me more, or maybe they'd accept me. And you tell yourself all of these different stories, or you start telling your story, you know what, I'm not good enough because of so-and-so. And that's a story that you also have to reframe. Y'all notice this pattern that I'm telling you all throughout this video, that you've got to reframe and retell stories that you're telling, because the stories that you tell yourself, that's going to be the life that you create. So instead of saying that I'm not enough, or, you know, if I don't do so-and-so, or if I do so-and-so, I won't be enough, or I won't be accepted instead of rejected, you have to retell that story like, you know what? My validation, my approval, my self-worth isn't dependent on somebody approving of me or accepting me or not. And it's like, you know what? Whether they reject me or accept me or not, I'm good regardless. I'm somebody, this was one of my chief wounds. I struggled with this so bad with dating. I missed out on so many dating opportunities just because out of fear of rejection. I dealt with that wound, and it was a wound I wouldn't touch. Life was showing me through different girls, this wound that I got, and I wouldn't touch it. So I wouldn't even approach, I wouldn't even attempt. There were a lot of things because I literally based my self-worth on if a girl accepted me or not, if she liked me or not. If I didn't get that, I didn't feel safe. It would have, sometimes psychologically, your brain can't tell the difference if you're in true physical danger or regular danger. Basically, the response that I had was practically no different than if I was in a situation or in some shit with a lion. I'm running from a lion or something that could eat me. That's the kind of loop that your brain gets into when you start having these wounds and you start having fears and all of these negative feelings that you have around rejection. If you struggle with rejection, and that's so important for you all to understand, because it will show up in your relationships. If you have a fear of rejection, or if you have a wound around rejection, I promise you, you may look at the girl, or for the ladies that watch this, the fellas, or whoever else, what it is, and whoever that you feel rejected from or that's not accepting you, and you looking at them, all they doing is just reflecting your level of self-worth. They showing you, look, you don't accept yourself. You don't have your own level of self-worth. And I'm just showing you that. That's all it is. Any interaction, any relationship that you have, it's just a mirror. So you got to understand what the wound is, what the trigger is, and take time to tend to it. And understand, no matter who accepts you or not, you're already enough. You don't need somebody's approval or acceptance in order for you to feel enough. And the minute you get to that point, I promise you, you'll start showing up in relationships or your dating life as a different version of yourself. You'll have a different vibe, a different aura. And before long, you'll have a partner that's lit as fuck, exactly what it is you want. But you gotta deal with the wound and the triggers. And the last one that I wanted to talk about, because this video has already gotten longer than what I thought it was gonna be, but it was so important, validation and approval. This is another one of the big triggers. And understand what the wound is. When you have people or situations that triggers this wound, when it comes down to being validated and approved of, I only matter if I'm seen or approved of. Nowadays, with social media, this shit is seen everywhere. Everything is likes, views, followers, subscribers, comments. If they want to fuck with you, or if they compliment you, if they validate you with how you look and everything else in between, your lifestyle, everybody wants to post their highlights and everything. It's all for validation and approval. I guarantee you, if everybody was at a point, or most people was at a point where they understood, you know what? I'm one of one. I'm enough no matter what this shit is, who approves of me, who fucks with me, who thinks I'm that guy, or for the ladies, I'm her. If you already had that mentality and that belief without social media, without any of that other shit, Zuckerberg would be in a world of trouble. TikTok wouldn't be what it was. Instagram wouldn't be what it was. Facebook wouldn't be what it is. YouTube wouldn't be what it is. None of it, because everybody is just looking for outside validation. And that's not something to be outsourced. Like I said, there was a point in time you didn't worry or care about if somebody thought you were enough, or validated you. You just were who you are. Look at any animals. I got a dog sitting right here chilling. He's not worrying about if I approve of him or not. More times than not. Well, maybe that might be a bad example, because dog's a man's best friend. But you look at you look at any other animal, a bird or something else, they don't care. They're just being who they are. That's why when you think about the word human being, you just being a human, being who you are. You were never supposed to worry about somebody approving of you or accepting you or not, ever. So I need you to understand, and that shows up, I forgot to mention, that shows up in overperforming, choosing the wrong career, all of these different things, social media, how you are in your dating life, all of these things, because you worrying about somebody approving you or validating you instead of you just being authentically who the fuck you are. And it's like, you know what? This is who I am. This is what it is. And that's that. Or even more importantly, understanding, look, there's over 8 billion people on this planet. And there's only one you. Only one person with your unique experiences, your fingerprint, your combination of talent, and everything else. And there will never be another replica of you, ever. And if you really looked at it that way, that you're literally one of one, if you think about value and there's only one of something on this planet, that carries value. And if you looked at it that way, you'd understand you don't need somebody's approval or validation. I'm him. I'm one of one. So understand that's how you got to reframe it and look at that when you get wounded or you feel like you got to prove yourself or you got to be enough or you need your friends or social media or whatever else. You need to be viral or you need to be popping or whatever the case is, have a certain lifestyle. You don't need none of that shit. If you have those things, that's cool. But you were already enough before those things. That's the whole point. So these are the triggers I need y'all to understand. That's what it is. If you're struggling with money, relationships, anything along those lines, take your time to do the work, to deal with your triggers. And understand they're just trying to help you. And they're trying to help you become whole and complete in the best version of yourself. That's all it is. And then once you do that, it's gone. Certain triggers, they just won't resonate anymore. So understand, it's so important. If this video brought any value, I'm Daryl. I have a community. The information will be in the description below, where I have a lot of resources. I do weekly segments to deal with these things, to help people work through their struggles and the things in that area. Where if that's something that you're interested in or you may need more help, you can do that. I also offer one-on-one coaching for the people who need extensive help, so that you can go into 2026 having the best year of your life financially, with as far as relationships, love, all of it, and to have that life that you really want to have and have that peace and that completeness. And before I get out of here, if this video brought any value, make sure y'all don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to help me get this message out to the masses and as many people that needs to, because this is something that everybody deals with and struggles with. And I just want to see the very best for you and anybody else. And y'all know what it is, fam. I want you all to stay encouraged, go do the work, and understand that where you go and what you do in your life, that's 100% all on you, and you got it. So until next time, peace and love.